It's crazy to think that an anime that came out in 2019 would also accurately predict the social and political climate as of February 2026. Of course, I'm talking about an anime called Carole and Tuesday, which is directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, the same guy who made works like Cowboy Bebop and Space Dandy, and follows the story of two musicians trying to navigate their way to making authentic music on the newly inhabited planet of Mars. The structure of the story is very interesting in that there are two parallels running at the same time. You have Carole and Tuesday, who are authentic songwriters who struggle financially and have to work their way up in the industry, and you have a rival character named Angela, who starts off as a former child star that wants to pursue a career of singing. This story structure would be the basis for how this anime crazily predicts one of the biggest issues facing people today: the presence of AI not just in creative spheres, but literally everywhere. So Carole and Tuesday takes place around the year 2060, where Mars has become the hot new place to live after Earth has become basically uninhabitable. If this sounds familiar, it's because, yes, it takes place in the same universe as Cowboy Bebop, I think a few years before the events of Bebop to be exact. Don't worry, you don't need to watch Bebop to understand. The only references I caught were that Alba City, the place where Carole and Tuesday live, is where the Bebop movie takes place, and that everyone uses the currency woolongs. In the beginning of the anime, AI is clearly shown to be on the forefront of society. The character Angela wants to jumpstart her singing career, so she goes to this character Tao, a music producer that uses AI to create all of his hit songs. Tao mentions how he has no employees at his company, only AI to assist him, that 99% of the world's hit songs today are made and sung with AI, and insists that you can't tell the difference between man-made and AI-generated songs. To dig the knife even deeper, he even gives an example that people claim that human songs possess warmth, but you can just use the warmth parameter to achieve that feeling. I think it's crazy because, like I said, the anime came out in 2019, yet the show completely calls out our social landscape in just the first 2 episodes. I mean, think about it. People are losing their jobs to AI, we have AI musicians getting streams on Spotify when they shouldn't even be there in the first place, and without proper disclosure, as technology gets better, it's just getting harder to tell what's AI and what's human. So Angela goes to Tao to have him create the ultimate hit song for her. Tao says all of his songs are sung by AI singers, and he's interested in seeing if AI would be able to traject an actual human's career with similar results. So he says that Angela has to become a puppet and follow instructions in exchange for a supposed guaranteed success. The career path feels soulless and heartless, just like the AI being used to traject that career, and I don't think that's a coincidence. It's a very different start from how Carole and Tuesday first meet. Tuesday runs away from home with only her Gibson acoustic guitar and a small suitcase and makes her way to Alba City to start a new life. Meanwhile, Carole is on the bridge with just her piano and singing a song inspired by her loneliness that doesn't even have lyrics yet, just a melody being expressed through simple vocalizations. Yet when Tuesday listens to her, she instantly feels a connection to Carole's song with her own experiences of loneliness and clocks Carole's intention of the song. Carole, astounded by Tuesday's on-the-nose analysis, becomes instant friends with her. I've talked about this before in plenty of other videos, but this is what art is about. The human connections created through human expression, and AI just does not fit in that equation. The conversation continues back at Carole's apartment, where Carole talks about how the hit singer Flora's music inspired her to become a singer, and Tuesday discusses how, as a recluse that didn't have any friends at school, she heard the song True Colors by Cyndi Lauper on the radio, and the uplifting feelings that Tuesday felt when listening to the lyrics inspired her to create music. In contrast, Angela's motivation for singing is at least partly based on her need for her mother's approval, her mother's failure to maintain success beyond being a child star herself, and her need for validation from her fanbase. It's very tragic and feels like the wrong reason to be getting into music, which fits perfectly with the AI jumpstart of her career versus the very authentic way that Carole and Tuesday share their love of music and decide to start songwriting together. And that's going to be a very common theme throughout the anime. The characters associated with authenticity are seen in a warmer, kinder light, and the characters associated with AI are cold, heartless, and just emotionless. AI kind of gets sprinkled around in other career fields as well. I already talked about how all of Tao's employees are AI, but Carole typically has a hard time finding a job because most of them have been replaced by AI. So she has to pick up jobs like working at a fast food restaurant and being paid to cry at someone's funeral, for example. From the lack of jobs to AI glazers like Tao saying that it can replace humans on something as intimate as songwriting, again, feels a little too real when we compare to our world today. Speaking of AI glazers, the character Artagun is, I found to be, the blueprint of people that act like they're an artist just because they can put prompts into a computer. Artagun is Mars's biggest DJ and has the most inflated ego in this anime, but the catch is that he doesn't write any of his songs. He uses AI. I will say this right now, what I really appreciate about Tao is that he's incredibly honest about AI and doesn't use it to inflate his ego. Artagun is like the exact opposite of that. So there's a little mini arc where Carole and Tuesday set up a meeting with Artagun to see if they can do a collab and try to gain some exposure. Artagun talks about how he's invested so much into AI technology to write his songs for him, and that music is a business, not a quote game, as he calls Carole and Tuesday's prospects. And he even claims that he can tell without listening that the song that Carole and Tuesday wrote isn't worth it. Seriously, like, who does Artagun think he is? Everything important about him came from a computer, and he acts like he's this hotshot god that can judge other people's works when he himself doesn't even write his own songs anymore? This kind of reminds me of how right now, there are people that claim that they're making art by typing words in a prompt, and then also have the nerve to tell other artists that their stuff is, quote, pencil slop, for example. I wholeheartedly want to believe that this term pencil slop is just rage bait from AI bros just trying to devalue what real artists do, very much like what Artagun tries to do with Carole and Tuesday. But unfortunately, these days, it's hard to give people that benefit of the doubt. An important note to make is that even though in the anime, AI is at the forefront of music creation and creative spheres, it also depicts that society will still inherently crave human intimacy and authentic connection. One scene that sticks out to me is where Carole and Tuesday are at the laundromat with only the seats and their voices to create music, and they are instantly connecting with another person in the laundromat, and there are people gazing inside to see what's going on. But even before that, earlier in the anime, Carole and Tuesday want to try out their song on a real grand piano, so they sneak into a theater where one of Artagun's AI technicians, Rhodey, sees their performance and uploads it to YouTube, and that video instantly goes viral. Even though Rhodey's job is to help the AI produce songs for Artagun, it's important to note he does personify the AIs by trying to give them names and talking to them, and I think this is to show layers to his character that even he craves genuine human connection, thus explaining how enamored he is by the authenticity behind Carole and Tuesday's music. Furthermore, when Carole and Tuesday enter an American Idol-esque competition for the shot of them making their debut, even Tao, the AI guy that was meant to jumpstart Angela's career, genuinely asks them who writes their songs and is astounded that they don't use AI. The audiences in the anime are genuinely interested in Carole and Tuesday, partly because of their authenticity. Speaking of authenticity, I think there's something to be said about how a lot of the genuine artists that don't use AI in this world also happen to be black artists. There's a character Skip who is also a successful star, and when he meets Carole and Tuesday, he tells them to not lose sight of the way they play because many artists get consumed by greed and forget why they started making music in the first place. Later on, Skip also makes a song about freedom of expression that gets him arrested, which we'll talk about later, but this just further highlights that he's one example of an artist in this anime that still carries authenticity in his music. Another character, Ezekiel, who we'll also get to later, makes a song about AI and anti-immigration policies that gets him deported, obviously meaning that he wouldn't use AI in his songs either. And then obviously we have Carole. I think that thematically, it just makes sense to have most of the authentic characters be black artists because foundationally, most modern pop music as we know it today is rooted in the blues, which is historically understood to be black American music that was founded in the Deep South. But among the non-black characters, we also have Desmond, who is a legend among musicians in this universe that I'm 99% sure is based off of David Bowie, and we have Tuesday as well. Desmond also continues the same motif that Skip brings up about how important music is by calling it nutrition for the heart, but that it's being poisoned. With all these characters commenting on the music landscape, I don't think it's a coincidence that we have this discourse about AI poisoning music with its greed being rebelled against by these pockets of authenticity from the very demographics of people that started what modern music is today in the first place. Just a small detail that I thought was worth mentioning while on the topic of authenticity versus AI. And if you need any more evidence that this anime is anti-AI, there are 3 characters that are robots run on AI that either scam the other characters or are just completely useless. The first one comes in episode 4 and is a scammer that pretends to be a music video director for Carole and Tuesday, but really is just a giant freeloader. The second one I found so hilarious because it was Artagun's manager that eventually takes all of his money, invests it in crypto, and runs away. Kind of feels like a little jab at crypto bros too. And the third one is one of the judges for the American Idol competition I mentioned earlier that is absolutely useless in actually judging the performances. Every comment that this character makes is something like, I can't feel emotion, but if I could, I'd feel it right now, which just goes to show how inappropriate it is to have an AI in the music sphere in the first place. And while Carole and Tuesday are slowly bringing up their careers in authentic ways, like recording live in a studio with characters like Skip, Angela starts to feel violated by some of the actions that Tao has taken. There's an episode when Angela walks in on Tao to discovered that he's created an AI replica of Angela singing exactly like she does, and you can tell immediately that she feels violated by that. The way Watanabe literally could predict the future is absolutely crazy. It's like how nowadays AI generation takes the likeness of people that never consented to that type of distribution in the first place to create videos, images, and sound bites. We see it everywhere nowadays, from fake images to fake videos to fake voice acting clips. It's so scary how this anime predicted all of this in 2019. We'll get back to this AI topic in a second because there's still, believe it or not, a lot more to dive into, but another element of the anime that's important to address is the politics that the characters in this universe discuss. So there's a character, Valerie, Tuesday's mother, who is running to be the next president of Mars by running on a platform that demonizes Earth refugees and calls for both prohibiting new immigrants from coming in and the deportation of undocumented immigrants. The sentiments that run within Valerie's campaign feel very close to how Trump ran his campaign back in 2016.
They are being released by the tens of thousands into our communities with no regard for the impact on public safety or resources.
She has this sentiment that for accepting refugees from Earth, they need to get something in return, and that instead, employment and safety are threatened on Mars.
These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain.
Mind you, the real world data tends to show otherwise, and I hope you see the irony of hating Earth immigrants on Mars when everyone on Mars would be an Earth immigrant or descended from one. Obviously, this came out in 2019, so by then we already had Trump winning his campaign in America by saying things like we need to build a wall and that undocumented immigrants are criminals, so I don't really think it's a coincidence that Valerie also happens to kind of look like Donald Trump. Do you guys see it? Because I really think that she looks like him. Valerie's campaign gains even more momentum when a bombing at a weather control site in the city is blamed on Earth refugees. After it happens, she jumps the gun to talk about how Earth refugees were behind it and that she was right all along, that the people of Mars' safety are being threatened by these illegal immigrants. It reminds me about how whenever terrible crimes occur, if they happen to be an undocumented immigrant, their documentation status is also put at the forefront. It creates this confirmation bias of the sentiment that people like Trump try to push, that illegal immigrants are at the forefront of crime that endangers Americans. In reality, Jerry, her campaign manager, is actually the one that staged the attack on the weather site, which is a central part of the story to have Valerie drop out of the campaign. By having Jerry fabricate a whole attack just to get points in Valerie's hateful campaign, the anime makes the stance that this false narrative that people are pushing about immigrants and crime just isn't real. But you know what the craziest thing about all of this is? Valerie doesn't even believe in anything she's saying, nor does she know that Jerry was behind the attack. She's literally doing the equivalent of asking ChatGPT for election campaign advice. Valerie's advisor Jerry has her follow an AI program suggestions the entire time. And whenever someone like Valerie's son objects to the crazy policies that the program suggests, all she does is say, "Does the program say to do this?" and follow it. It's like how people these days are constantly asking ChatGPT for advice or asking it to write their essays or just make any basic decisions. The clairvoyance of Watanabe here is insane. The AI program even suggests to abolish the trade agreement on Earth, which causes Valerie's approval rating to jump up when she announces her intent. Even though her son says that ending the trade agreement will actually end up with Mars' economy failing because Mars as a whole is not self-sustainable and relies on trade to survive. Kinda reminds me how when Trump introduced the tariffs to countries like Canada and Mexico, it uselessly ended the USMCA, that agreement we had with those countries to trade freely. Again, Watanabe is literally a prophet. Jerry even says it doesn't matter what the results of these policies are, the people want strong words and a strong will, and so it doesn't matter whether the promises can be made, just getting in office is enough. I have no words. It just becomes so incredibly clear that the anime believes that the evilness behind the campaign and the usage of AI pretty much go hand in hand together. Later on in the anime, when Valerie's approval rate surpasses the incumbent, we start to see anti-immigration policies being ramped up as well. Ezekiel is a character who grew up at an Earth refugee camp with Carole that later becomes a big rap artist on Mars. We get a little backstory from him when he talks about how he did what he had to do to survive, and he discusses with Carole how upset he is at the current political climate and people's sentiment towards undocumented immigrants, saying that they treat us like criminals on Mars even if we've done nothing wrong. I think that rhetoric speaks very strongly against people that say things like, "Why aren't you happy that we're deporting literal criminals?" It's the exact same thing. This prompts Ezekiel to make a song that I think is one of the highlights of the anime called Crash the Server, that's rapped by Denzel Curry of all people. Like, what was the budget for this anime anyway? The whole song is great, but there's one particular line that I think is just the epitome of the sentiment going on in America today. "I can't speak robot, but I can speak Spanish. Seems like a lot of real music has been forever forever banished. The Spanish line has to be about how much Americans are demonizing Latino immigrants especially, right? I wish I could ask Curry myself, but it legitimately feels like he didn't necessarily write about the plot of the anime, but just what was going on around 2019. And with the line about how real music's been forever banished because of AI and that he can't speak robot is just brilliant. Like, chef's kiss. Unfortunately, as public opinion of Valerie ramps up, this leads the government to start implementing policies that follow Valerie's stances, almost like they're just expecting her to be elected. So Ezekiel gets arrested by mice, which is literally just ice with Mars in front of the name, and the anime again predicts the ridiculousness we see in today's climate. Now, ICE has always been deporting, but I don't think that anyone can deny that there's been an increased activity by them under the current Trump administration recently, and even more so, I think a majority of the people agree that their actions are simply too aggressive and are doing more harm than good. When we see the actions of mice in the anime, it's just like Ezekiel said. They're holding them at gunpoint, acting like they're these horrible criminals and using excessive force. The parallels are just literally insane with how real they've become under the second administration of Trump. I mentioned earlier too about how Skip also makes a song about freedom of expression that gets him arrested as well. I think the crazy part about this is that when he does get arrested, he gets put in a Mars immigration detention center. Like, was he even an undocumented immigrant? Or were they racially profiling him because all the confirmed Earthlings in this show are black? Kind of like how Latinos are increasingly racially profiled by ICE in our current administration? This also raises a question of why does Skip get arrested for writing a song about freedom of expression? Well, in the final arc of the anime, Jerry and the executive that is funding Valerie request the research done by Tao to be implemented for their political policies. See, it turns out that Tao's past research analyzes how AI could be used to sway people's opinions and control their emotions, which I assume they want to use to gain political power and eventually have Valerie win. I think this also plays into how Valerie's campaign has been suggested by the AI up to this point because the AI suggests policies that play into people's emotions about their unhappiness with the lack of jobs and safety in order to have immigrants be scapegoats without any real credible sources. It serves only to get Valerie elected by playing off people's emotions. And so getting Tao's research would amplify the effect even further. The funny thing is though that Tao actually rejects this proposal because he doesn't want his AI research to be used for that purpose. So instead, Valerie introduces a bill, at the suggestion of the AI of course, that restricts freedom of expression of the arts. I guess if they can't use music to sway people's opinions, they can at least target music that is going against them. I don't think the bill is even passed yet, but the characters even say that the environment that's created by Valerie's political campaign has encouraged this, almost like how a certain president keeps assaulting the First Amendment with his executive orders. Anyway, in the finale of the anime, Carole and Tuesday gather scores of musicians to speak out against the injustices that the government is committing against its people. The ending song is incredibly beautiful and serves as a nice culmination of all the people they met along the way, and just how powerful music can be when it serves an authentic purpose with a very meaningful human connection, calling back to exactly how Carole and Tuesday met and became friends, through the emotional connection that is created between humans through music. I think the anime also touches on something that is very important right now too, to speak out against the injustices we see and to express our discontent with the actions of our current administration. Even in the end, Mice starts infiltrating and getting ready to arrest all the singers that are speaking out against the government's policies, and Gus stops them saying, "Whoa there, it's just a song." That statement is so beautiful because, yeah, it is just a song. Yet with how the officers are there ready to arrest everyone, it also shows just how much power our voices truly have. Shinichiro Watanabe truly is a prophet. The fact that this anime was relevant back then, but is even more relevant today, speaks to how much work we still need to do and to be the change we want to see in the world. I know this video is very deeply political, even more than usual in my videos, and I'm definitely stepping out of my comfort zone here, but I'm just incredibly happy to see that there are so many people speaking out against what this current administration is doing to people. Media tells human stories, so sometimes life imitates art and art imitates life. This anime happens to be a little bit of both, but I think that's so incredibly beautiful too. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, comment your favorite thing about the anime. I upload shorts pretty much all the time, but I'm trying to make long form content a little bit more frequently now, so I hope you guys will stick around for that. Thank you so much guys for supporting me, and I'll see you guys next time.